Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6.
Eagle Eye TV has done a great job.
And welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6.
We are just having a great time here in Auburn, Alabama. The party is not over yet.
Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Lucas Hazelrig.
And I'm Alice Estes. Thank you for joining us.
Starting off tonight with everyone's favorite furry friend, Director of OBBY applications are open as of today. Applications will be held until February 21st, and it is mandatory that you attend one information session in order to interview for the position. All information sessions will be held in the Melton Student Center Room 2216, and applications can be found on AU Involve.
It's that time of year again for Auburn students to elect a new SGA cabinet and their 2025 Miss Auburn. Voting begins tomorrow, so prepare yourself for campaigning around campus and get fired up for Eagle Eye's second collaboration with WTVM. Tune in Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for Eagle Eye's live coverage of the SGA debate, moderated by student media leaders, and on Friday at 9 p.m. for our election call-outs show. Check out our social media pages later this week for links to the live show.
Saturday, January 25th, Auburn students were involved in violent crowds as they attempted to form a line and enter Neville Arena for a men's basketball game. Students who were injured in the incident, as well as the Office of the President, have both responded to the situation. Eagle Eye's Sydney Babb reports on the story.
It's just, I think, a failure of Auburn safety, and a little disappointed in the way Auburn students conducted themselves.
This Saturday, Auburn students gathered outside Neville for the long-awaited men's basketball game versus Tennessee. After being encouraged by the university via email and social media to show up early for college game day, the crowd turned into a stampede as security let students in the line. Ahead of the game, Auburn men's basketball announced that students would not be permitted to camp outside overnight. Security and attendants had planned to allow students to enter the line at 6:30 a.m. and proceed to the doors at 7. But with the amount of people crowded in the back and many students toward the front moving past barriers, students found themselves overtaken by the large crowd, majority of which believe insufficient amounts of security and barrier structure was to blame.
Definitely not enough. Maybe two at the very front, and then there's a second checkpoint where there's a police car. I know there's a video circulating about that.
The main problem was the barricades. That was the main thing that was making it so dangerous, because they were confining everyone in there was huge groups confined into one small runway, I guess.
Not even a line. They didn't even form us down the concourse or anything. They just let us get into this big bowl, and then it just got tighter and tighter. And then when the first group kind of started to go forward a little bit, we all just pushed forward, and there was nobody saying, hey, you need to let up, because there's people that could be harmed by this. And it was just all on the students to alleviate the situation.
Some students reported seeing others trampled under the thousands trying to get through the line. Others reported their own injuries and experiences of being trapped under barriers and only receiving help from the other students in the crowd.
Some girl next to us started screaming at the top of her lungs. There was a barricade on top of her and people were running over her.
I was lifted up onto my feet and held between two people, and my arms were crossed like this, just trying to breathe. A girl next to me had passed out.
But I fell face first, chin first, I guess, on the concrete. And two people did try to help me up, but they were kind of trying to grab me, but they had to keep running, they couldn't stop. I got 6 stitches in my chin.
I have elevated bruises all over my legs. I have a huge bruise on the side of my thigh where it's really elevated. You could see that there was a foot right there. I have a huge knot on my back because someone stepped on my back.
Students felt as though much of the cause for the stampede came from the lack of communication of what the plan was, as well as not enough security and police presence for the number of students in attendance.
Over the 4 years I've had, how Auburn is, they're so Auburn family, but they're really trying to sweep this under the rug, and it's kind of weird.
Eagle Eye TV reached out to the athletics department, Auburn Police, and campus safety and security. Jennifer Adams from the Office of the President said they were reviewing their game day policies, and the safety of the students, personnel, and community members is of utmost importance. At this time, Eagle Eye TV still has not received a response from Auburn Athletics or the Auburn Police Department.
Staying with men's basketball, yesterday Auburn Athletics introduced new processes and policies regarding queuing for students waiting to attend future games in Neville Arena. From now on, all home basketball games will follow one of two procedures, a queuing process or a camping process. When queuing for student tickets, the university will now split the line into 4. Students will divide into 4 groups. Arena doors open roughly 90 to 120 minutes prior to events. When camping is permitted, students are allowed to set up tents and chairs near Neville Arena. They are not permitted to strap their equipment to any Auburn University property and are prohibited from any open flames or smoking. To learn more about this, visit auburndigers.com/jungle.
Coming back from below freezing temperatures, Auburn's Recreation and Wellness Center saw this as the perfect opportunity to hold their annual Polar Plunge. The yearly plunge is held in support of the Lee County Special Olympics. Students lined up at the rec center pool awaiting their chance to jump into the ice-cold water. Joining everyone in their plunge was none other than Aubie the Tiger, who was also participating in the activities. After taking the plunge into the water, students received beanies as a token of participation. Attendees also had the option to relax in the hot tub or enjoy the pool. Complimentary coffee, hot chocolate, and cinnamon rolls were provided for everyone to enjoy.
This past Thursday night, Auburn students got the chance to test their trivia knowledge and see new faces at UPC's Trivia Night. I myself had the pleasure of attending the event, and I got to speak with UPC staff about their experience in putting together events like these. The University Program Council has organized a trivia event this past Thursday night for students to come together, enjoy some games, free food, and meet some new faces. The Auburn University Program Council mission is to enrich each student's Auburn experience by providing inclusive and engaging programs that foster community. I can attest to that being the truth, as I was there firsthand to experience them kicking off this semester with a bang.
Yes, so this is pop-up events, and we're doing a fun little trivia night. We have tons of different kinds of trivia. So we have Auburn trivia, we have some pop culture trivia, just all the different fun things. And of course, we have some snacks, and just it's a great way to get together.
The team at UPC did an incredible job of putting together an inclusive event where anyone could join in on the fun. These events are especially popular with Auburn's freshman class who've recently moved to Auburn and may be in search of some new friends. With that being said, UPC events are a wonderful place for all students around campus to get out of their comfort zones, meet some new people, and it's no doubt that free food will always be a positive for college students. UPC board member Aaron Aldaz spoke with me about the importance of this event.
UPC is just really great because people have a really hard time getting into Auburn's campus their first year especially, and I really feel like, especially our committee, specifically pop-ups, just because it's so tiny, it's so welcoming, you don't feel scared going into that.
The trivia event was a smashing success thanks to their hardworking team, and it's no doubt that this will be a big year for UPC. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Lucas Hazelrig.
When we come back, you'll get a weather update from Eagle Eye's Beauman Ivester and a political update from Ben Bradfield's Eye on the Hill. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Beauman Ivester here to give you your weather outlook for this week on the Plains. Today we experienced a nice sunny day with a high of 74. I hope you all soaked up all that sun today because the rest of the week will be cloudy. We will continue with warmer weather with a range of 78 degrees and a low of 56 this week. On Friday, make sure to grab your umbrellas and raincoats before you leave the house as there's a chance of morning showers. Moving on into the weekend, we will continue to experience partly cloudy skies with a high of 78 on Saturday and a low of 47 on Sunday to lead us back into the sub-60s and rain we will have next week. That's all I have for your weather this week, so go ahead and set your eyes towards the hill as Ben Bradfield will be bringing you all of the updates in the world of politics coming up next right here on Eagle Eye News. We'll be right back.
Hello and welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Ben Bradfield with Eye on the Hill, here to give you an update on all things politics. Trump's new policies outline a contrast to the Constitution's 14th Amendment, which grants birthright citizenship to U.S. citizens. In recent days, the Trump administration has faced criticism for broadcasting immigration raids on social media. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem joined ICE agents in these operations, which were shared as part of a publicity campaign. activists have labeled this approach as a publicity stunt, arguing that it turns enforcement actions into entertainment and instills fear among immigrant communities. The administration defends the raids, highlighting arrest of individuals accused of violent crimes. In international news, China's recent development of DeepSeek, an AI chatbot, has surprised many in Silicon Valley. Despite expectations that restrictions on advanced silicon chips would hinder China's progress, DeepSeek has delivered performance comparable to top US offerings like ChatGPT, but at a fraction of the cost and energy. The development has been compared to the 1957 Sputnik moment, raising concerns about the US maintaining its lead in artificial intelligence. This breakthrough not only challenges US technological leadership, but also raises concern about data privacy and the potential for AI-driven disinformation campaigns. In local news, the Opelika mayoral race is gaining momentum as two candidates have declared their intentions to run. Eddie Smith, who has served as president of the Opelika City Council since 2008, announced his candidacy on September 24th, 2024. He is joined in the race by Raven Harvest, who also recently declared her bid for the mayor's office. The election is scheduled for later this year, and both candidates are actively campaigning to garner support from the community. That's all for Eye on the Hill. When we come back, you'll get a national news update from Lucas and Alice. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. A horrific week for air travel. The National Transportation Safety Board is now investigating 2 deadly plane crashes, the latest involving a medevac jet which crashed in a neighborhood outside of Philadelphia this past Friday night. At least 7 people were killed. Gene Sullivan on the latest details for both crash investigations.
The National Transportation Safety Board now investigating 2 deadly plane crashes just days apart. The first, an American Airlines plane and U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter colliding in Washington, D.C. Wednesday night. All 67 people involved killed. The latest involving a medevac jet, which crashed into a neighborhood in northeast Philadelphia Friday night, causing a fiery explosion on the ground and terrifying people nearby.
Parents are raising concerns about the safety of undocumented students in schools after the Trump administration's executive order that has allowed federal agents access to school campuses. John Paul Barajas is in San Antonio with the latest.
Has the district taken on additional training on how to handle a situation where federal agents might come to a campus, or if there was any type of ICE raid?
We have provided our principals some guidance. We are bound by federal law that says that we are forbidden from sharing confidential student information unless they provide the right documentation.
Don't overshare and only provide information you're legally required to due to court orders. That's what staff at SAISD schools have been advised to do if any outside law enforcement agency comes to a campus asking questions.
Any law enforcement entity would have to abide by our protocols that we have in our buildings. They are not open campuses where anyone can come in and do anything.
Patty Salzman is the deputy superintendent at SAISD. She told me if federal agents were to show up at a school, she and SAISD police would be contacted to address it, and that if valid documents such as a subpoena asking for information was provided, the district is required to, quote, make reasonable effort to notify a parent prior to complying. However, the district has seen a decline in students in class.
It is hard for me to say whether the decline in enrollment is a result of the information they're hearing or whether it's the flu or COVID or the weather.
But there has been a change, or at least something that you can say there has been a significant
Yes,
amount less.
we know that there has been a decline in our attendance.
Salzman adds during these uneasy times for many, they do have counselors to assist students.
When children and families are scared and they don't come to school, the children have interrupted schooling. They don't get the education that they deserve and that they are constitutionally entitled to.
John Paul Barajas, KSAT 12 News.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's wife Sarah has been placed under criminal investigation after a TV report alleged she conspired to intimidate witnesses in her husband's corruption trial. An official in Israel's state attorney's office confirmed the investigation in a letter to a member of the Israeli parliament, the Knesset. A criminal investigation was opened on December 26, 2024, based on suspicion of committing criminal offenses. Gila Friedman wrote, quote, "The investigation is being conducted by the Israel police with the support of the cyber division of the state attorney's office," end quote. CNN has asked Sarah Netanyahu for comment on the allegations through the prime minister's spokesperson. A December report on UVDA, a current affairs show on Israel's Channel 12, alleged that Sarah Netanyahu directed a top prime ministerial aide to confront people who were set to testify in the corruption trial. Benjamin Netanyahu has for several weeks been testifying in his years-long corruption trial. He stands accused of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. However, the most serious case he is charged of is advancing regulatory benefits worth the equivalent of more than 1 billion shekels, which is equivalent to more than 280 million US dollars, for a friend who ran a telecommunications firm.
When we return, you'll get an Auburn sports update with Cohen Dalzell. You're watching Eagle Eye News at 6.
Welcome back to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Cohen Dalzell, here to give you a recap on all the big stories that occurred in Auburn sports on the Plains last week. Now, let's get right on into it. Starting off with some news from the court, AP #1 Auburn basketball didn't miss a beat last week. Auburn was stellar in both games on the road, first taking down LSU 87-74 in a Tiger showdown down in Baton Rouge, before heading to Oxford, Mississippi for a ranked matchup with then 23rd ranked Ole Miss on Saturday. Janai Broom led the team with 20 points and 12 boards as Chad Baker-Mazzara put in 18 as well for the Tigers. They kept the Rebels in check for a 92-82 win. Auburn, now with 13 straight wins after both wins last week, remained atop the AP poll today with 62 AP voters ranking the Tigers at #1. Auburn hosts Oklahoma tomorrow before 6th-ranked Florida comes to town on Saturday. Auburn women's basketball was also in action this weekend when they traveled to play the #2 team in America, South Carolina. Despite Deanna Gaston scoring 32 points for the Lady Tigers, they couldn't bring down the mighty Gamecocks, falling 83-66 in Columbia. Women's hoops hosts Texas A&M for Black History Month night at Neville Arena Thursday night at 6 p.m. Central. Now to the mat. #11 Auburn Gymnastics had a match on Friday against 7th-ranked Kentucky in Lexington. Despite a mighty effort from the Tigers, they came up just short of the upset, losing 197.50 to 196.600 to a really good Kentucky Wildcat squad. They host Georgia Friday night. Now to another court. Auburn men's and women's tennis also had a couple team matchups this weekend, with 10th-ranked women's tennis hosting #3 Oklahoma State at the Yarborough Tennis Center Saturday. The Tigers took down the Oklahoma State team in dominating fashion for the upset, sweeping 4-0. Men's tennis had a doubleheader at the Yarborough Tennis Center on Saturday, dominating both of their matches against Tulsa and Alabama State. They swept Tulsa in a 4-0 victory before capping off the night with a sweep against Alabama State as well, 4-0. The other sports that start up their spring seasons this week include equestrian, who host Minnesota Crookston, women's golf, who play down in Rio Mar at the Lady Puerto Rico Classic, softball, who take on Southern Illinois, North Carolina, and Appalachian State this weekend at Jane B. Moore Field, and finally Auburn men's golf, who play in the Amir-Ari Invitational in Hawaii. Now we'll wrap this up with some national sports news. First, let's hit on one of the major trades that went down in the NBA as the trade deadline approaches. It was a shocking midnight deal on Saturday night as the Dallas Mavericks traded superstar Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Lakers for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. This deal came as a shock to many as the Mavericks had just made the NBA Finals with Doncic a season ago. It was reported that the Mavs were unhappy with Doncic's health and weight this season and no longer saw him as their franchise player. In NFL news, this Sunday is the finale of the 2024-2025 season as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs will try to make it a three-peat in a rematch of Super Bowl 57 just 2 years ago. They take on the Philadelphia Eagles at 5:30 Central on Sunday night. The Chiefs come in as slight favorites for the Super Bowl after winning the AFC for the 5th time in the last 6 years. From the Plains and the world of sports, that's all I've got for you tonight. When we come back, you'll get a business and consumer update from Lucas and Alice back at the desk. I'm Cohen Dalzell for Eagle Eye Sports, and you're watching Eagle Eye News at 6. We'll be right back.
President Trump is making good on his campaign promise to impose steep tariffs on U.S. trading partners Canada, China, and Mexico. Zaria Oates spoke with an economic scholar in Texas about how the tariffs could affect prices for Americans.
The consumer will bear the burden of this tax.
Tariff, tax, they're pretty similar. A tariff is a tax placed by one country onto another country's goods, like produce, automotive parts, and clothing fabrics, something Dr. McPherson, chair of the economics department at Trinity University, teaches his students about every day.
The distributor is physically paying the tax to the U.S. government, but the distributor is going to hike the cost to the consumer. Is going to pass that tax on in terms of consumers, in terms of higher prices.
And can you tell me some of the things that we'll see the biggest impact on here in Texas?
We get a lot of things like berries from Mexico. Another negative impact is going to be on the stock market.
The Dow Jones dropping 300 points the day before these tariffs will go into effect.
Cars, again, are made in both Canada and Mexico. You have to go back many decades to the Great Depression to find tariffs this high.
Do you believe history is repeating itself?
Unfortunately, yes.
While many of the products that could have price increases at the consumer level are everyday items, Jamie Gonzalez with River City Produce and Chicho Boys says it'll take time.
The change that could possibly happen to your fresh produce, it does not happen overnight. You will not wake up tomorrow and your line be $5.
As prices do fluctuate over time, Gonzalez shares this tip to keep your bill low.
A critical aviation warning system that went down Saturday is now back up and running. The Notice to Air mission system enables pilots to download flight details before the fly. It is separate from the air traffic control system that keeps planes a safe distance from each other, but it's an important tool for air safety. Sunday Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said that the backup system was engaged Saturday, but the lead system is back online and it's now working. The system, which Duffy called old, has gone down before. An outage in January 2024 briefly halted all U.S. flights.
Costco and the Teamsters Union struck a tentative agreement early Saturday morning as thousands of workers were prepared to go on strike. Full terms of the deal were not immediately available. Some of the union's demands included wages, benefits, paid family leave, and safeguards against surveillance. The Teamsters Union represents about 18,000 workers, which is about 8% of Costco's employees in the U.S. The strike would have affected 56 stores across 6 states, which would have been the largest ever at an American retail chain. It would have also been the first strike ever at the big box retailer. The tentative agreement still needs to be ratified by the union's rank-and-file members.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, but for more Auburn news, head over to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com, and check out our social media pages. I'm Lucas Hazelrig.
And I'm Alice Estes. Thank you for watching, and War Eagle.